Hello and welcome to the live podcast, Win More on Purpose. Today we have Laibel Schwartz with us on Success Starts Within, how getting closer to yourself unlocks your potential. For those of you who are new, the agenda, it's going to be a conversation between myself and Laibel. We're all here learning together. There will be a Q&A at the end where you can ask questions and make sure to write those down so you don't forget. And very important, there will be an offer at the end, so make sure to stay tuned all the way till then. For those of you who are live, you can put into the chat where it is that you're coming in from today. You can introduce yourself, what it is that you do, or anything that's just on your mind when it comes to the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Yaacov Steinberg. I'm a sales coach. I've been doing that now full-time for a little over 5 years. And I noticed when I first started that people were able to build 6-7 figure businesses on their own. They're good at what they do. They're passionate. Some put along the way they learned how to speak to people. But they'd hit this glass ceiling, either because they were making it up as they went along and that'll only get you so far, or they didn't want to be that stereotypical used car salesperson, sleazy, pushy, getting people to buy things they didn't even necessarily need. And that's where I came into the picture. Mindset, techniques, skills, really helping people to have that confidence and clarity to know who they needed to speak to, where to find them, what to say to them, how to say it. Thankfully, I've had the pleasure of helping quite a number of people that are pretty well known on LinkedIn, be it Chai Fishman, Hoodie Bluch, Hoodie Greenberger, Ellie Bosch, just to name a few. And the clients that have worked with me at the 6-7 figure realm have been able to grow by even 50% in the first 60 days of working with me. Clients at the $100,000 realm have been able to grow by even 150% in the first 60 to 90 days. And solopreneurs just starting out have even been able to grow 240% in 45 days. Laibel, really excited to have you with us here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let's get this show on the road.
First of all, thank you so much. It's incredible that you do this, and I'm inspired by it and hope to emulate it. So first of all, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Name is Laibel Schwartz. We run a company called Laibel. We are blessed to have worked with and currently working with, I would say, the most incredible teams in the world, solving problems through video. So it's been a big progression from where we started, which is, kind of the wedding photo space with my wife, all the way through to do headshots, working into the video space, and now doing these wild campaigns, solving real problems in industries that I didn't even know existed before. So that's really what we're up to these days. And thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, I'm really excited to have you here today. It's just I can't believe we're actually here. I think the first question, today's conversation is about how success starts within. And we said that in the topic, we really wanted people to understand that it's about getting closer to ourselves in order to unlock our potential. I think the first question is, what does it mean to even get closer to yourself?
It's fascinating because we all look at the world as, we kind of think of things as there's the stereotypical, successful person, right? The person who, you look at and said, they really made it. But I think the thing that I found most fascinating is in being in the business places that we are, is that we got a chance to kind of peer into companies that, as I mentioned, I would have never expected that I would be able to see, and see problems that I would have never been, able to see. What I've noticed is that it's a bunch of different personalities that are successful. We have the outgoing rock and roll salespeople. We have our introverted, actually incredible salespeople. We have our operations people. We have our visionary people. And what I've noticed is when people are most successful, it's just because they've came really, really close to themselves. And I know that sounds weird, but let me tell you what that means. By the way, is my camera, to me, it looks like I'm
just
floating.
Went up a little bit.
Yeah, that's just a weird setting over here. I don't know exactly what the deal is.
Hey, perfect.
But what I've noticed is that, maybe if I push this button, try that. What I've noticed is that when people are most successful, they're fine with being themselves. And I noticed this at first because when I would do headshots of people, depending on what industry they were in or whatever, they would say, I want to look like this. I want to look professional, so I want to look like this. Right? Or I want to look like a sales guy, so I want to look like this. Or I want to look happy. I want to look like this. And I would say to guys, I know that you're new in the industry, but I noticed that everyone that I've photographed, we photographed the most incredible people in the world, right? And some of the most successful people in our world. And I've noticed the most successful people don't mind being themselves. Why? Because they made it, right? So therefore, I never heard a guy that was running a successful company that said, I want to look like this, right? Because he's perfect the way he is, or she's perfect the way she is, right? So I would tell these guys who are up and coming guys, just letting you know, when you do get to a place of success, when you finally get there, you'll know because you'll be fine being yourself. And what does that mean? How does that translate? You see guys in business meetings. When I say guys, I mean guys and girls. You see people in business meetings, right? The more a person can genuinely connect to who they are, what their strengths are, and what they're bringing to the table, it's contagious. People can feel it. You could walk into a room if someone's confident in who they are and what they do in 1 second. 1 second. And I've noticed the people that can most connect to that thing, even if it's strange or even if it's whatever it is, it's you. So that's all you got. Those guys and those girls have been most successful.
100%. I think that one of the things that we forget so often when it comes to this process, there's only one of you, right? You have that special song to sing. You have that value to bring to the world that nobody else can say it, do it the way that you can. And I think that so many people, they don't know how to give over their value in the right way. And that makes them take that step back and question their value, right? Especially in
Right.
the creative space. We see
Oh,
this
so tough.
so much.
It's so tough
It's
because
so
you
hard.
know, in the creative space, you think to yourself like, "Oh, I want to be like that, or I want to be like that, or I want to be like that," and the answer is that's not how you do it. And again, you have to in the beginning. I tell people all the time, you have to play to your strengths, and the only way you're going to learn your strength is by playing everything. You know what I mean? You got to play everything. Guys want to start in photography. People want to start in photography. What should I do? So the answer is there's a billion things to do, right? Try photographing babies, try photographing sports, try photographing portraits, try photographing weddings, bar mitzvahs, events, food, architecture, anything, nature, anything you possibly want. And what's going to happen is you're going to start tasting things and taste from here and taste from here and taste from here. And the experiences I've found is, for one, you're going to find out what you like. But the coolest part is you're going to learn something in baby photography that you're going to relate to in corporate branding, right? How do I know how to work with my, these wild companies? Because I was dealing with mother-in-laws for 8.5 years. You know what I mean? And I figured if you can make a mother-in-law happy, you can make anyone happy. You know what I mean? And that is, now we're
100%.
working in the corporate world, but it's a joke, but it's not really a joke. At that level,
Right.
you take all the skills you grow with, and you bring it to wherever you go.
Yeah, and I think we were discussing this even before, but it's about finding out who you are by going to the successes and seeing what was it that worked, right? And then from there, you're able to really understand deeper what it is that talks to you, what is it that you're passionate about? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about that passion, right? One of the things that, I've always connected to whenever I've seen you in, social media or, with the things that it's the events, it's like, don't laugh, right? It's you're being you. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're here, right? It's the energy of you being Laibel, right?
Right.
It's that experience that you don't get if you're not actually tapping into who you are, right? I was in a conversation today with someone, and she gave me an amazing compliment, especially the type of individual she is. And I said, coming from you, that's amazing. She said, I would tell other people about you because you're real. I said, that's the best compliment I could ever hear, because that's all we want to be. Because when we're
Yeah.
us, when we're who we need to be, who we really are, we'll attract the people that we want to work with. We'll be able to be successful in those moments and take the steps necessary in order to understand what is it that brought our success.
Yeah, and it's a challenge because we're all we're all self-aware, and we're all self-conscious. My mentor, my Rosh Yeshiva, Shmuel Gluck, when I was younger, he once was giving a speech. It was about how to be a great parent before you have any children, right? And we're all that kind of age, and about kind of like setting up a household in the way that will raise good children in the future. And at the end, we all went around, and so he says, "Guys, how did I do?" I was like, "Everybody knows he was incredible. What's the question?" He says, "Let me tell you something. Everyone in this world is self-conscious, and that's the thing that that in the beginning there's a lot of doubt." Um, but you hit something that was kind of interesting. Is that, and I think we talked about this before. How do you figure out what that thing is? right? I think that you kind of asked me that. How do you, it's like a little bit interesting. Like it's catch 22, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, I'm going to be
Right.
me. Like, what's me, right? How do you,
Yeah,
right?
and it leads us to that question, like, what are the steps we need to take to reverse engineer success and understand the process of how do we even get to that passion?
So it's really interesting. So I've always said that the way that at least I have found out where our success lies is by going to see where we've been most successful. Now, what does that mean? It means that we've all been successful with something. We've all had some sort of success, whether it's being a child, doing well in school, not doing well in school, but doing well in sports, not doing well in sports, but doing well with friends, not doing well with friends, but really being compassionate. Whatever it is, we all have those things that we've excelled at. And how do you know that thing? Because you feel it. You feel like at that moment, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you see that it works, whatever it is. So I've always said I like to go back to those places. One, if I'm doing a project, I'm doing a bunch of projects, go back to which ones were the most successful. And it's fascinating. The ones that happen to be most successful, I actually feel most fulfilled from, right? And
Right.
then you kind of go there and analyze, well, what was it about that project that kind of spoke to me? And I'll bring you to an example. I was actually meeting with first time we ever did headshots globally, like at a big event, was Headshot Global, was LinkedIn Global.
LinkedIn
Beryl
Global.
Solomon, Joel Wall, Susan Spanner, Avi Diana, all put together an event many years ago. It was actually the first day I ever went to yeshiva. Left Koil. That was my official first day of work. I was in Koil for like 8.5 years, and that was like my first day that like I was like, I'm coming out and doing this thing. And I remember coming back on such a high, like such a high. And I actually went to David One, who's our business strategist. And I went to him and I said, like, he was trying to pick apart what is it I liked about it. Did I like doing a lot of headshots? Did I like the photo stuff? And I said, David, it's got nothing to do with headshots. It's got nothing to do with pictures. It's got nothing to do with lighting. There was something about that experience of people walking in with total doubt, with a brand new concept that no one understood, standing there for 45 seconds and walking away amazed over and over and over and over again. And I don't know what it is, and I couldn't put my finger on what is that? What is that thing? Is it like it? And he said something interesting, man, and I don't know if it'll ever come true, but he said, I don't know, have you ever thought about being a talk show host? And I was like, you know what? That's a really interesting thing. Like that sort of like human interaction, human experience, totally connected just for a little while, total deep dive. And as I've gone further in my life, I mean, look what we're doing. This is the stuff that gives us energy. This is the
Right.
thing that, right? So we've gone and taken those successes. And then as I go into new businesses, as I go into video and as I go into video projects and like campaigns, doing the exact same thing, taking a moment, totally connecting someone, maybe a little longer of a process. Now it's a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, that constant, oh my goodness, I can't even believe this could exist, and blowing people's minds, that I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to
Right.
this experience of creating something that people didn't think was possible, blowing their mind and doing it over and over and over again. And I don't know where that's going to go, but I do know that that's the recipe.
Right. And like you said, it's about looking back at those foundations. Why is this what we do best? Why do I like it? What's the process that those things have in common that are going to enable us to, understand what was it about it that made it, that success. I think that one of the things that a lot of people are going to ask themselves is, how do we do this before we begin? Right? Meaning, what if we haven't necessarily had those successes yet? How do we create this, right? There's a concept, they talk about hitting rock bottom before you hit rock bottom. You don't actually need to get there. It's the same idea. How do we get that feeling of success before we have the success?
Now it's interesting. I like how you took that on a positive spin, meaning people are going this way, you're going this way. Very cool. Um, so I'll tell you a little secret. I'll tell you how we do it. Um, we always have a concept called we do the first three for free. And do the first three for free means that when I have an idea, it's like off the wall, right? And we have a bunch of these things, right? Off the wall. We're like always off the wall. I don't even know where the wall is anymore. You know what I mean? So I want to do something. So but how are you going to convince some client that they should do this off the wall idea for you? So what I do is I do the first three for free. And what it allows me to do is it allows me to prove concept to first myself, and build something perfect to sell. And I'll explain what that means. It means when I start off, I want to do a project exactly the way I want to do it. Now, if you pay me $5 for a project, it doesn't matter how much minute amount of money it is. If you pay me, you automatically have say in the game. No matter what's going on, you have say in the game. So what I do is I go to clients that I'm anyway working with, or not. Let's say, for example, I'll tell you how it started. We wanted to be wedding photographers. You go convince a bride and groom and a bride's family that they should let you be the first wedding they ever shot.
Good luck.
Right? Tell a bride, I'm telling you, I'm going to do the most beautiful bridal portraits you ever saw. Yeah, show me. Here's a Pinterest board that I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do? Tell you what we did. We called my cousin and we said, hey, what are you doing on Sunday? And then we ordered on Etsy a $40 vintage wedding gown. And we went to the local florist and we said, hey, we have a way to get beautiful portraits, bridal portraits for you. If you could just make us a bouquet, we'll give you all the portraits. And we made the most beautiful at the time bridal portraits we possibly could. And then we made a beautiful wedding album just of those portraits. And people would say, that's gorgeous. You shot this wedding? Oh, was this a real Kala? Was this a real bride? So we said, no. So what do you mean, no? I said, it's hard to get the first one, right? So we made it up completely on our own, created a service or an offering, and we brought it to the world. And we brought it to the world at retail, right? And we did this literally in every step. Headshots, I did free headshots. Do you understand, Yaacov? Everyone looks at us right now like, oh, Laibel does headshots. Like, oh, he just came up and went from weddings to headshots, right? What people don't understand is I did every single Wednesday. I drove into Manhattan. I gave free headshots to everyone and their mother for 2 years straight. And I had to rent the studio. I think I did like 50 grand in investment in traveling and renting the studio and getting, but we built a perfect package. When we came out that day at LinkedIn Global, we were ready to take over the whole world. Same thing on the video side.
And I think the most important part of this is that intentionality, right? It's intentionally creating the infrastructure that works for you and creating the product that people want.
So then that's the most important point. So since no one's paying for anything, right? So what happens is you can build it exactly the way you want, the exact way you want. And then when you come to market, you have I call three, perfect pieces that are your portfolio. And when someone connects to it, they connect it in the way that you want to do it. So therefore, you're constantly recreating the exact thing that you want to create. And that's what I make a joke all the time. I said, the only reason we win is because we made the rules to the game. We built the game literally around our skill sets so that the only thing we could do is win. Because I can't win at anyone else's game. Am I the best photographer that exists? No. Wow. Am I the best? What we do in this world, there ain't nobody that can touch what we're up to. That's just because we made the rules of the game.
Right. And I think that it's so important for people to realize that anybody can do this, right? I mean, we'll get a little bit more technical in a minute about, how to find the free ones and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, like you said, it's about figuring out what it is that you want to do and just going out and offering it to people for free so they have no skin in the game. And literally you create this process and system of what is going to work best for you so that you can work in the way that you know best.
Take you, Yaacov, for a second.
To having to do it other ways.
Take you, for example. You're starting out, yeah? You know you're good at what you do, right? You feel it, you know it. And you really know that there's entrepreneurs out there you can help, right? So there's one thing going to an entrepreneur and say, hey, listen, I'm telling you, if I did this for you, it would rock. And you say, oh, great. Well, have any experience? No, but I'm telling you, I could do it, right? Okay. As opposed to saying, you know what, guys? Hey, Laibel, I have a crazy idea, right? I know I'm going to be good at this. I want to utilize you as a guinea pig, right? There's no harm done. We're going to work together. I've been working on this process. I've been working with other companies. I know I can do it. Can we do a 30-day, test drive? And I tell them specifically what the cost is. Now we're doing the last thing we were doing is these wild video projects, yeah? I tell them, it's a $25,000 project. I'm doing it as a gift. The next one's going to be 25. You tell them straight. They should know what they're getting. And you tell them straight then what it's going to be next time. And then you're ready to fly.
Yeah, the interesting thing is looking back, you brought me into the picture. Looking back, I did something very similar. When I first started coaching or consulting at the time, I called it, I did it pro bono. I did it that way for years until the people that I was helping were like, well, "We need more of you, not less of you. Can you please come and help us?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a try." Right? Like, I got this broker just pulled me by the nose and said, "Do this." I was like, "Yes, sir. I'll try not to get in the way." But it's funny because ultimately that was what I had to tell people, right? And when you sell, a lot of times it does boil down to selling yourself and the experiences that you have had. But other times it's not really that complicated to pull from an experience that you were able to bring from someone else. Especially, again, they do have to value it. That's why it's so important to pick the right people,
That's right.
right? Because if they don't value it, then it's not going to work as well, which is what we're going to get into right now. But I think that that's really one of the biggest pieces of it, right? So and that would be the next question that I would ask you, right? So how do we find those right people? How do we find those free ones that are going to let us have that creative, whatever it is that we are going to be able to create it in our own way, but they're excited enough about it, passionate about it, or trusting enough about it to let us do it our way?
So I'm going to tell you how I do it currently, and then I'm going to work backwards to how I did it before we had anything to show. So
Hmm.
currently, what I do is I work with the teams I'm very, very close to, and they know our process already, right? I'll tell someone that I'm very, very close to. We're totally aligned in vision. They've already hired us for other projects. And I say, guys, I'm in that place again, right? We're there again. And they go, oh my goodness, right? And we're there again.
What now?
So I said, here's the crazy idea. Here's what I'm up to. And I let them know, and I watch to see how are they reacting. Are they connecting to it? Are they not connecting? Right? You want to make sure that it's a fit. Not only are you guys a fit, which is the most important thing, because if you're on the same wavelength and you're really doing other projects together, they really get it, right? But you want to make sure that they're
Right.
into this one as well. And also, you know what I've had, by the way, which is a crazy idea. If you have these guys or girls or whoever you're doing it with, you could pitch an idea. I did it during COVID. One of the ideas, one of my guys told me, "Label, you're not working these days." Not COVID, October 7th. You're not working these days. No one's
Okay.
working these days. Fly out to Israel and start interviewing everybody that was in October 7th, right? And make document. Do what you do, but do it for that. And I was like, you know what? I wasn't really into it. I want to leave my wife and kids. Like I wasn't there, but like sounds like something that would make sense. So I started pitching it to my guys, and you know what they said?
Go.
No, no. They said you're not in it. You're not in it. I could tell. Multiple guys said, "Label, you pitch us all the time. I think it's always a good idea. I don't hear it in your voice."
Wow.
And I didn't go. I couldn't believe it, right? And they'll be that sounding board is really what a friend is. They'll be that sounding board that will tell you, yeah or not. They'll feel it in your voice. And you'll feel it when you're pitching it. But what I do is I work with my guys I'm currently working with, and I take projects that I'm already getting funded for, and I take those profits and I build on my new thing. So therefore, I now have the ability to work within a project, one of my clients, take the profits from that space and then build something new. Now, the question is, how do you do it before you have anything? And that's what I was telling you about my cousin, right? You have to, for one, people are excited about someone starting something new, right? People naturally, that's like the good old American spirit, you know what I mean? People like the
For
idea
sure.
of, entrepreneurship. Um, and people like something fun. So therefore, that idea of just, putting it out there. And, my wife went to the Parsons Interior, School of Design for interior design. She called her design friends to do the makeup. We did the florist, and everyone had their little piece of value added to it. But sometimes you just got to ask, guys, I have a crazy idea. Want to take this with me? Right?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because it's about finding people that you trust,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's a client, whether it's someone who believes in you, whether it's someone who just likes you or what you do or what you want to do. But it's like you said, it's got to be those people that really connect to what it is that you do to be that sounding board in order to make sure that it's going to be a good idea. Now, of course, I do think that it's important to separate those two pieces, right? When you're talking about, and I think this is important for people to hear, you're asking the people on your team who already know you, know the projects that you're doing, and you're asking them, hey, is this a good idea? Right? You're not asking
Right.
the people you're going to and saying, hey, is this a good idea?
No, 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 very much not. So
Right.
that's a
And
very
I think
important
that
point you have
that's
to listen. No,
super
no,
important.
super important. No, no. Nobody, we work in silence.
Exactly.
No one knows a thing. I'm coming out now, the last 2 weeks, with the fact that we've been working in healthcare for the last year. One
Right.
whole year, I've been working 16 projects. That's a lot of projects when we only do 4 projects a month, right? That's my entire year, essentially, along with all the other stuff we did, right? And I've
Right.
been silent. Did you know we do healthcare? Nobody knows a thing. Now we're
Right.
taking over the whole world, right?
Right. Right. And
But
that's super
this,
important because
and
once you get
but
that
I
piece,
know that I could do it, and therefore we stay super silent. If I went to someone and say,
exactly.
"Hey, what do you think about doing healthcare?" Yeah, everybody does it when you need it for. You make it,
Exactly.
and then you build it, and then you show it to the world. I don't ask your permission, right? I'm with my team, and then
Exactly.
when we take it over, they say, "Hey, how'd you do this?" Oh, that's what we've been doing for the last year.
Yeah. So let's get a little technical with it. So we have a product that works, right? We ended up
One
go
before we get to the last thing about that one little point is that
ahead.
it's very important. This does not mean people are going to reach out to you, especially I'm coming from a creative space. People are going to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I have a great opportunity for exposure." Right? You want to do something for free? The answer is absolutely not. Or you could be more diplomatic. That sounds really, really incredible. Not exactly what we're doing right now, right? Or whatever's going on. This idea of doing the first 3 for free is not nothing to do with what they want. If anyone reaches out to me about a free project because I could have exposure, there's upside or whatever's going on, that sounds really, really incredible. Not what we're up to right now, right? It's what I want to be doing. And I create the stakes and I'm creating what I want to create. That's when you could do the first 3 for free, not when someone else says, "Hey, they have a great idea. What do you think about doing this for free?"
Right, because that goes back to our first point, which is that it's finding out what it is that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Right? So success starts within. It's about getting closer to yourself to understand what you want to be doing. Let's get a little technical with it. Okay, so we have the product. Excuse me. We have the product. We've done 3 for free. We know that it works. How do we take that next step? How do we find the people that need this?
So I'm actually doing that as we speak. Like right before this call and right after this call is exactly what I'm doing. Right. So for one, is I like to call it, I don't know if I've ever put it this way. I like to make sure it finds itself in front of those that need to see it.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
So there's one thing is obviously social media is a big thing. So we've developed a following on social media. So therefore we're
Mm-hmm.
using that in a way to kind of sprinkle in front of the people that need to follow it. So right now we're very, very, very big in the healthcare vendor space. So therefore I'm always at ECAP and I'm always at ECAP West and I'm always at, hanging out with my vendors, clients, right? So therefore we have people are following us on social and people are following us on WhatsApp. So what I'm doing is it's time just to come out with that explosion. So we did for a few weeks, hey, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. Boom, did the reveal. And now we have 16 weeks of every week a wild piece of content with, superlative content in the middle, right? To kind of like let everyone know. What I'm doing is I'm just making connections with people that are in the space. And you can even, I do funny things like, can I ask you a crazy question? We're about to do something, we're doing the middle of doing something really wild. I know you're in the space. Can I just run this by you? Can you just check this out for a second? Right? I'm actually not selling them, a lot of these people. I'm not looking to sell. What I'm trying to do is get into the psyche of the Hamonam that this is what's going on right now. Right? So you do this with enough time. It's guerrilla warfare. So therefore I'm connecting with this person. Can I literally 10 minutes? I just want to pick, you're in the space. I'm brand new to the space. Can I just have what are your thoughts? Now I know that this stuff has never been seen before. It's going to rock their world. So even though they're not ready, it becomes the known thing. Who does headshots, by the way?
Label.
Why? Why? Because in the beginning, what's a headshot? What do you mean? You just ask the wedding photographer, can you just take from here and I'll take the white tie and I'll superimpose it. Like, now, you know those pictures, right? That's the pictures. So this is
Of
the
course.
idea that what we're doing is what we're just basically dripping in front of all the people that want, and you're not asking for them to sale. You're asking them for their opinion. What?
Right.
You've seen a billion nursing home videos. Can you just tell me what are your thoughts on this one? Oh my goodness, what is this? Oh yeah, it's what we've been working on for the last year. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Right? This is wild. Well, how do they use this? Oh well, they're using it. They're giving it to their marketers, and marketers, salespeople have sometimes an inconsistent way of speaking amongst all your salespeople. Here you have one consistent way to speak to all of your hospitals in a way that's exactly the narrative that you want. Right?
Right.
Oh, that's wild. Oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, perfect. I really appreciate you. And I'm going to let you know. I'm going to keep up with you and let you know how it's going. Oh, thank you so much. Right? And then 3 weeks later, just letting you know, we just landed 3 of them. This is really working well. The marketers are getting back, and actually it's filling up beds, right? Oh, wow. You're not doing any selling, but what you're doing is you're establishing yourself as the brand. And as time goes on, it becomes who does headshots, right? Soon it'll be whatever that's going to be. Now if you ask who does a wild, emotionally connecting video that really solves problems, I don't know if we're there yet, but we're definitely getting there. You know what I mean? We're definitely getting there. And it's just
and that's
dripping in front of the people. Yeah.
Right. That's where the magic happens, because when you have that amazing idea, and everybody likes to be let in on a secret. Everyone likes to be let in on something that's exciting and new. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen such a thing before. You're like, when you get in that place, right? It's all about, it's psychology 101, but it's about getting in front of people in the way that they're going to appreciate, in the way that's going to connect to the way that they need to hear it. Right. And I think that's another thing that you do very, very well, is you understand the language of the people that you need to talk to. Right. So when you speak to them, you're speaking to them like Laibel, but you're also saying the words that they need to hear to connect to the message.
Well, because it's really all about them, and then that's our specialty, is that idea of I realized, I think even today I've been thinking about it, I was thinking about it a lot, that we're nothing that we've ever done is about video, photo. I think it's about allowing people to communicate. It's allowing people to communicate a message to someone, whether that's on the corporate side, is back from the wedding, it was a message communicated to each other, to a headshot, resonating, communicating who you are to the world. These videos are communicating a certain idea to a very specific one person to make a decision. And that's what that idea was when we talk about a talk show host or whatever that is. It's really, we're in the communications business, right? But I'm still figuring that out, because if you asked me, forever I was a photographer, right? I use one of these things, right? Whatever. But really, it's just a tool that we have. I'm still trying to figure out what we really need to do.
Well, so you're definitely heading in the right direction. So I know that we covered quite a number of things already. We covered, a little bit about how to go through this process, how to get it to a level where you're bringing it to people and getting them to buy in to the idea that you have. How do we take it to that next level? How do we take it and grow it? We have the portfolio. We've got people. How do we now blow it up?
First step is to call Yaacov. No? Not, no, I'm saying for real. You know what I mean? That's a skill that not everyone has, and I don't even know if I have it. This idea of being able to to sell something, because a lot of times when you create something, you may be confident in it, but to be able to actually sell it and do a systemized, a lot of us aren't salespeople. That's not what we're naturally. If you're in the room with us, we're gonna, I'm saying, you won't be able to not do it. But how do you get in front of people? I think that's a Yaacov question. So can I'll take this as a fun way to get some insight. How do you do that?
So I'll tell you like this, and I love that you're flipping the question on me, right? So there's two different parts to that, right? One is kind of something you touched on already, which is taking it to social, slowly releasing the content, of what you've been doing over the last year. You're doing that right now. Another way is, I mentioned this earlier, that you do this very, very well, is really understanding who it is that you need to talk to, understanding where you're going to find them, what you need to say to them, and how you need to say it. When you do that, then it's a matter of doing the consistent action steps that you need to do every single day to get in front of those people, and committing to yourself that you're going to be accountable to it. Whether you're going to reach out to 2 people every single day, or you're going to reach out to 5 or 10 or 20 people every single day, whatever that number is, depending on what you're holding in your business and how many other things you have going on. But ultimately, it breaks down to having that clear understanding of the who, so that you can communicate with them in the right way, and then doing the action steps that you need to do consistently every single day, right? 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 + 5 is not the same as 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. Adds up very differently. Would you agree?
I'm here for to learn. That's exactly right. That's
amazing.
I think that's where a lot of people have a challenge, from going from creating a product that's incredible to running a sustainable business. I think they're two. I think that's the barometer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, if we're talking about from a sales perspective, a lot of people, like I mentioned this earlier, and within the creative space, it's hard, right? When you're trying to sell value, when you're trying to talk to people, there's that confidence that a lot of people struggle with. It's how do I do it in a way that's not going to be salesy? I want to tell them about my idea. I really want to give this over to them in the right way. A lot of creatives struggle with that. A lot of times, whether they're introvert or extrovert. I mean, being an introvert sometimes makes it harder. I'm an introvert. All right,
Me
I'm an
too.
introvert and I'm creative, but you wouldn't you wouldn't necessarily know that from these types of conversations or seeing me at an event, right? Because like Shane Karen says, the real difference between those two is how you recharge, right?
Right.
After something like this, I just need space. Like, don't talk to me, right? I need time. I need to come back down. When I finish work at the end of the day, I need space, right? Because otherwise I'm not properly giving into me what it is that I need. And that comes down to knowing who it is that I am and how I operate in the best way possible, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's understanding that these things are work. It's understanding that these people need my help. They wouldn't necessarily be able to get what they need without me stepping in to say,
By the
hey,
way,
this is something I'm doing. Let me help you.
this piece, by the way, you just said is the whole thing that we're talking about all day. I say all the time, I'm a vendor. You know what I'm saying? I'm no different than the janitor. I'm no different than, the window cleaner. I'm no different than the guy that delivers, paper towel. I'm a vendor, right? I take pictures and I
Mm-hmm.
make videos. There's no reason I should be sitting in the room with the people that I do, doing the things and kind of dreaming the things that we do and creating the things that we create. But what I realized was that I'm the only one in the world that can do this for them. Yes, they could run a wild company. Yeah, it's true. And they built something that's beyond what my wildest dreams. But the one thing they can't do is what I do, right? And
Right.
therefore, they need us for their step in their progression of business. So the same thing you just said, right? You could be doing great work, but you need me to get you to where you need to go, right? So therefore, am I the most important thing in your company? Absolutely not, right? Is the wheel the most important thing of the car? Absolutely not. But if you're missing one, you ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And that's the confidence of figuring out who you are. You're sitting with this wildly successful person, but without the thing that you are giving to him, her, it's not happening. So therefore,
Right.
we're equals. Now we're partners in this thing. Even though in the grand scheme it's maybe not that way. And that's when you realize that global tech, I'm very, very close to. They're IT geeks. You know what I'm saying? They sit and they eat megabytes for lunch, right? Right? But they're allowing our healthcare clients to be able to take care of people around the country. You need someone
Right.
who's going to eat the gigabyte. So therefore, if that gigabyte guy is trying to be this like ostentatious sales guy, it's not going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that is why every single person is beautiful and perfect at what they do. And if they can be confident in that thing, they're golden.
100%. So you mentioned earlier that you take a year, 2 years sometimes to really spend on this process in the background without anybody knowing about it, super secret, nobody has any clue. And then you come out and you show it to the world. What if someone doesn't have that type of time?
So you don't. I don't even know if it's the right move. I really honestly don't. It could be it's an insecurity. It could be that it's a mishigas. I don't know why I do it. The reason why I probably is an insecurity, meaning everything that we've done in the world, it's an insecurity slash a safety net. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because let's say it didn't work out, and we did 15 of these things, and it didn't work. Guess what? I'm still rocking full speed. No one's got to know anything, right? So
Right.
therefore, it's my safety net to allow myself. I had the weddings in order to be able to. I had the weddings to be able to spend 2 years doing headshots. I had the headshots to spend the year doing video. I had videos in order to spend the year doing healthcare. I had it. We're sitting in a company right now, ENAV. Everyone needs a video, right? It's another company of ours, and this was a brainchild. This was last year's brainchild, meaning this year's been healthcare. Last year's brainchild was everyone needs a video. Now it's a company running on its own with success of itself. And I'm sitting, I have a Friday meeting, and I'm watching them watching them grow, watching them do their thing. But it was silent. And I do that because because I can afford sometimes to be able to work off what I'm working on and work in silence. But it's not necessary in any part of the process. For me, I think it's a safety net slash an insecurity slash what do you need to know about anything until it's ready to fly. Before that, it doesn't exist.
Right. Meaning, in other words, you're giving yourself that freedom to fail in silence.
Yeah, and do you know how many things we've done that don't make it, that didn't make it to the world? A billion things, and some of them were really cool, like really cool. And maybe I'll get back to them. We
Right.
started taking our CEOs out of the country, and for 3 days out of the country, different industries, no one knows each other, and brainstorm and learn from each other, and they don't know each other, different industries
Fascinating.
completely. And you know how much I learned from this, right? It's a wild experience. And we made a joke, we said to each one of them, I stood up in the beginning and I said, guys, what would you say what would people say if people asked you, why are you in a different country with 8 people that you have no idea who they are? And you'd say, I don't know, my photographer told me to come, right? Like, how backwards are you? But the answer is, it's a wild concept. You did it twice, super successful. I'm not choosing to take it there right now, along with a billion other wild things.
Right. And I think that this point that you mentioned is very important, because it's the idea of, and we spoke about this a little bit before the podcast, so maybe I'm cheating a little bit, but it's that 80-20 rule, right? The way that you did it in allowing yourself to fail forward, right? Like, I have a quote here in my wall in my office. Failure is not the end, but a stepping stone towards success. Learn from your mistakes, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. You know who says that? Rabbi Victor Miller. Right. And one of the powers of what you're doing is, because you're self-funded and you're playing with it on the side, and it's your 20% and your 80% is your main. Only once you get to a point where you have made this thing perfect, you fall in love with it, you all think that, and especially you think that this is the next move, then you can move that into your 80%, because now it's working. And you're
Yeah,
able, like you said, this idea was a great idea. It sounds cool, but
super
you
cool.
decided, you know what? Even though it's working, this isn't the thing that really talks to me in the way that I needed to, for me to be Laibel and do this.
That's right. That's exactly
And
right.
therefore, it's not even a failure, right? Because it's something that you're learning from, right?
No,
But
and not only
that's the
that was a
freedom
success.
that
They
you
still
have.
want that people want to go again. People ask them, let's do it again. The answer is, it's not where I'm at now. The interesting part is, and the way that I play this, and I've always played it, is with weddings and with all my photo sessions. I would get everything I possibly needed, right? So let's say it shoots an hour. Spent the first 45 minutes getting everything we needed, everything that we needed to check off the box. The last 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes, I'd say to them, guys, I have a crazy idea. It's probably not going to work. You want to try it?
That's
Right? And it's like interesting to see the reaction. Like, it's probably not going to work. Like, should we try it? Like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Crazy idea. And what happens is, you basically, it's the same exact idea. You're like opening yourself up, saying, hey, it's probably not going to work. That means it's probably not going to work. Not like, hey, this might work. This probably won't work, right? But you set the expectations. You already have everything you possibly need. And then you try something crazy. Now, if it doesn't work, that's totally fine, because you have everything that you ever needed. But when it does work over and over, that, like you said, becomes your new 80, right?
right.
That's
And I
the
think it's
20 that you
interesting.
play in, that becomes the new 80. And that's really the concept we've done everywhere with all the things we
Right.
do. We play and play and play in the 20, where it doesn't, it's, it's not going to affect us. And we play over there. And then when
Right.
that's successful, we bring over our 80 into that spot. We start playing
Right. And
again.
I think it's very important from a psychology perspective, that probably not work. That's what we would call labeling. You're labeling a negative, which diffuses it. Right. There's a concept. I'll break it down like this. So in
Laibel.
Label, but it's labeled. There's a mislabel, which is label's cousin. It's complicated. But the idea of labeling, right? We're gonna have to coin a phrase around
By the way,
label.
it's funny. Can I tell you before you say?
Go ahead.
My team, right? So we travel a lot more than I actually want to, and
Mm-hmm.
we're out in the world, and obviously we dress the part, right? So there's a lot of like very interesting interactions. So one of the rules that my team has, if you need like whatever, when you connect to someone or whatever, they call it. It's funny. It's weird for me to say it, but they'll come back and they'll say, "Hey, how'd you do that?" And they'll say, "We labeled it." What does that mean? You went to someone, you smiled at them, you gave them a compliment, right? And then whatever it is that you needed to get done, right? You get them. They somehow get them on the team, and like they do whatever, they're a team member or whatever, and then whatever, and then and it's
It's
became a
hilarious.
term We label them. It's like a cute, fine. It's weird for me to say, but like you said, we have to
We're gonna
label
have to
it. So,
trademark that. I'm expecting that to be a post on LinkedIn, so everyone should
yeah.
know what it means to label it. But the idea over here is basically that if someone's frustrated and I say to them, it seems like you're very frustrated, it makes them feel less frustrated. If someone's being generous with their time and I say, it seems like you're being really generous with your time, really appreciate that, it makes them want to be more generous with their time. Right? This is a concept Chris Voss talks a lot about this a lot. But the basic idea of what you're doing by saying it's probably not going to work is you're setting the stage for expectations and automatically reducing the negative effect possible by it actually not working.
Right.
Right? And if it works, amazing. Right? If it doesn't work, well, you kind of set up and said that it's probably not going to work anyway. So there's no harm, no foul. Right?
That's
So
right.
I think it's fascinating. Like you're doing that automatically. But I think that's a cool
We
learning
also go
point
the
within the
other way
moment.
as well, which is interesting. We also go, so we definitely do that, and you definitely hit that right on the head. You never thought about it before, but yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We also go the other way, and we'll tell people straight up, this will be the most incredible experience you've ever had in your life. I guarantee it.
Right.
And then they'll say, hey, like under promise, over deliver. And I said, no. We over promise and over deliver.
That's labeling it.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. But I'm letting you know this, and you have to be confident in it. But I tell people all the time, you ready for the best headshot you've ever had in your life? They're like, what? They're like, I've had hundreds. Step in my office, right? And right, they're like, right, and then boom. But you have to be confident in your thing. Same thing with everything
Right.
you do. Over promise and over deliver.
100%. Here's an interesting curveball for you. Okay, so we mentioned that a lot of this boils down to really knowing who we are and what we're really good at. Can we do this without self-reflection? Can we go through this process without having to sit down ourselves and go through the process of what it is that we're really good at?
So if I understand your question correctly, you're saying like, how do I like, should I put myself in Zen mode, sit in a corner and like hum to myself and figure out what's going on? Or is there a way to do it that if I'm not interested in humming to myself and going in Zen mode in the corner, how do you deal with that? So I found that people know you better than you think that they know you. And
Agreed.
what I mean by that is the people that know and care about you know your strengths. They know what you're good at. If you can't figure out what it is that you're good at, ask a friend. Call a friend, right? That was the thing. Call a friend, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a friend, and it's like an interesting conversation. It's something that like I think that a lot of friends, spouses, parents, and kids should have anyway, right? How nice would the world be if we would like tell other people about like things that they were great at, right? For some reason we don't do it because I don't know, maybe we're self-conscious or whatever's going on, but like I try to tell people what they're wonderful at. You know what I mean? And it gives them right. So therefore, you could just ask, and it's a weird thing. Ask anyone. Go home and ask someone, a best friend, and say, "Let me ask a stupid question. What's my superpower? What am I best at?" They're like, "What do you mean? What are you best at?" For real, open question. What am I best at? Right? People know, and even your clients ask them, "What? We had a great experience. We had a great experience. What am I best at?" Try it.
What
Ask
was
me
it
right
that I
now. We
brought
should
to
have
the
a
table?
podcast. We should have a podcast. Go ahead. Ask me. We should have a podcast. We spent an hour
I should
together.
ask you.
Yeah, ask me.
Laibel, what is it that I'm best at?
So, one thing I've always noticed about you, you are wildly good at following up. You're
Thank you.
wildly good at following up. And to the point that you came to my backyard and played with my kids. Probably the only person in all of LinkedIn, probably the only person in all of LinkedIn that came to my backyard and played football with my kids, right?
A crazy story for everybody who would never know about this. I even hemmed his kid's pants.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
that?
That's very interesting. You're right. That is crazy. Yeah, Shalom.
Nobody
That's
would
funny.
ever know about that.
Yeah. So anyway,
Now it's on the podcast for everyone to know.
yeah. But my point is that you're wildly good at following up to get things done that when you originally said, I said, then not a chance of that happening. I'm gonna hang out with people. I don't have. I mean, we live in a very different world than I think that what people think that we live in, and that was never going to happen. but you made it happen
Right.
through consistency, and then getting on the podcast also, like just consistently following up over time, and to the point where I'm like I almost had to figure out a reason why to say no again. Like I felt silly. Like what like I used that excuse already. What am I going to do already? And the answer is yeah. But there's no reason I shouldn't be here, right? You're doing great stuff. I think this is fun, right? And that I think is a piece that I think people are very scared of, and I think they could learn from you, is how to stay consistent without being annoying, and it turns into whatever you want to do. And I think
I
that's
love that. Thank you.
yeah.
And I think one of the biggest pieces, it's about being pleasantly persistent, right? So following up in a way that doesn't make people hate you for constantly being in their messages. And it's funny you mentioned follow up, because I've actually had people in the past thank me and say, "You follow up amazing. Really, thank you very much." Like, okay, no problem. Right? And it's interesting that, when I think about it, like a lot of it comes down to what we said earlier, understanding that this is something that I believe is of tremendous value. I believe that you have tremendous value to give. And if I know that you need this and that the world needs you, how could I not follow up with you? Right? That's the shift. Right? That's the perspective shift. When you realize how much value you're bringing to the world, or in this case scenario, how much value I believe you bring to the world, how can I not follow up? Right? It's that little bit of a shift. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I think
Everyone,
it's
by
also
the way, I don't know who's watching, but everyone should go home and ask whoever they're close to with or whatever, ask them straight up, what am I best at? You'll start to realize what it is that your superpowers are and double down on those.
yeah, and I think it's interesting because whether or not you actually have clients yet, you can do this, right? So that
You're not
means
a
if
client.
you have
I could,
clients, you can ask them, right? What was it that I
anyone,
brought to
yeah,
the
I'm telling
table?
you,
What
I'm
is it that
telling
I
you, I
solved for you?
guarantee you, I guarantee you, I guarantee you. Ask your bank teller. They'll know. Ask anyone that's ever spent time with you. Ask anyone. What am I best at? Ask your spouse. Ask the kids. Ask your parents. Ask Abichai. Abichai, what am I best at?
Selling.
I'm not that good at selling. I'm not that good at selling. Yaakov's good at selling.
Gosh, and listen, selling at the end of the day is about asking questions in the right way at the right time. The right questions in the right way at the right time. That's it. That's how we're having this conversation, right? Because it's understanding what are the questions to ask to have an engaging conversation, go back and forth to lead to a place of impact and value for the people listening. Right? It's intentionality, right? So let's end with this one last question. What is step number one in this whole process?
Hey, well, the step I'm working on right now. I'm working on the step of realizing that our only job here is to literally do the best we possibly can, and we have a unbelievable force that loves us, and they're going to take care of us no matter what. That's what I'm working on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's what I'm working on. So I'm working on personally, trying to remember that as much as possible. And the more I can connect to that, I feel like the more successful we become. And then the first step also, I found, is just to do. I know myself, and I don't know if it's just me, that if I just do, like, I would rather just go and do, because doing will lead to something. When I don't do is when things don't do. You know what I mean? But if just do, whatever that thing is, I don't know what's the worst that can happen. You know what I mean? Try anything. I don't know, anything. You know what I mean? But anything, just do. Take a step towards what it is that you want to be doing. And who knows where it's going to go. But I guarantee you, if you don't take this step, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
So
and you might even look back and regret that not taking that step for the rest of your life.
I took that. Yep. I took my kid
That's how I
flying an
ended up
airplane
here.
recently. Yeah.
That's how I ended up here. I was not planning on becoming a coach when I became a coach. I was pro bono consulting on the side. I was about to move into a more corporate position. The people I was working with were like, we don't need less of you, we need more. I was like, you know what? I'll give it 2 weeks. If I close enough clients in 2 weeks to make this make sense, fine. I ended up closing 3 clients in those 2 weeks, called the company I was supposed to go to. I said, listen, I need to give this a try. I'll never forgive myself. They're like, go for it, right? I left the door wide open, great relationship, great communication. They're like, go for it. 5 years later, we're still here, right? And it's amazing. And the idea, I think, when it comes to, if you don't, once you understand what is it you're really good at and you figured out how you can do something, play. Just play with it. What do you like? Play around with it, try it, and just see what happens. Right? Like you said, worst case scenario. Right now, that worst case scenario holds a lot of people back. But ultimately, at the end of the day, so someone says no to you, right? Remember, you're offering it to them for free if you're doing the first 3 for free, depending on how you're building this out. As long as they trust you and you're listening to the amazing advice that Laibel gave you today, there's no reason for them to say no if they trust you and they believe in you, and they're the ones who told you that you're amazing at this.
Or they're not. The funny part is, like, like we do these trade shows with people like Global Tech and Mint Capital or whatever it is. And there'll be like a long line for like headshots and gift. So some person comes up to me and says like, well, it happens all the time. What's this? So someone will say, oh, it's a headshot. It's like, what do I need a headshot for? So I'll say, you don't. So he's like, what do you mean I don't? It's like, if you don't know you need a headshot, you don't. So he's like, okay, well, why is everyone in the line? And I say, because they do. He's like, well, do I? I said, no, you don't. And that's you know what I mean? And then if someone says, I don't need that, that's totally fine, right? Cool, right? Cool. I'm over here. Good. I'm flying, baby. Are you on the train or not?
That comes from confidence. That comes from understanding the value that you bring, which is a whole separate conversation. But that comes down to understanding the value you bring, what it is that you're doing for people, and the willingness to be and step into that place. When you know what you're doing and you know the value you bring, whether someone else connects to that idea or not is irrelevant to me.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter. It's not a reflection of me, right? That's one of the biggest things when it comes down to value. Right? It's not a reflection of me whether or not you connect to what I am or am not doing.
Right. But I will connect over time.
Inherent.
That's what people don't realize. It's a time game, but you will connect with great people. You have to find the right ones.
100%. This has been absolutely amazing. I always like to end off the podcast with a couple of things. First of all, I have a page of notes, and I always find it super important to point out to people that if I were to try to do all the different things on this page of notes, I'd probably trip, fall, break my nose. Maybe it won't be pretty. It's worth taking one thing, one that you connected with on what we spoke about today, and do that. Just one. Focus on it, get good at it, then take the next step. Play it, the long game, baby steps. Let it take the time that it needs in order to turn into something amazing. Another amazing thing we spoke about right before we jumped on the podcast, that you wanted to make an offer to everyone who's here today listening or listening after the fact. Tell us a little bit about that, Laibel.
I would like to let anyone know that what we're up to right now is solving problems through videos for companies, right? So I just want anyone to know that they could reach out, and I don't have to be the one that does it, but the concepts we're doing in the real estate space, in the healthcare space, in the IT space, in the startup space, in so many different spaces are wild. And they don't have to be us, but just the concept of what can be done through this video space. So I just wanted to be an open invitation. Anyone could reach out to me via LinkedIn, WhatsApp. I'll put our contact below, and just to kind of brainstorm things. And whether we are a solution, whether ENAV, another company, is a solution, or whether you can do it on your own a lot of times. But just figuring out what it is that this tool can do for you is a powerful thing. So anyone can reach out, and we'll have a talk. And if we can help guide you, we are the biggest pleasure.
Absolutely amazing. I've put Laibel's LinkedIn in the chat, so anybody who wants can reach out to him directly from there. And for myself as well, anybody who has, on these live podcasts, we try to talk about things that are timely, interesting, things that you can add to your skill set toolbox. If you have something specific you want to ask me, my contact information as well is in the chat. You could feel free to hit me up for a 30-minute free strategy session, take your sales game to the next level, just chat, just to get to know each other, whatever it is. They do move kind of quickly, so grab it while you can. But it's an open invitation. Feel free to grab it whenever works best for you. Laibel, this has been so much fun. I absolutely love hanging out with you. Thank you so much for coming on and gracing us with your amazing personality and teaching us all about what it means to have success starting within.
I appreciate you. This was a humongous treat. And this is honestly part of our, trying new things. This is exactly us playing around. And I don't know if this is where we want to go, but it's definitely, this was a pleasant experience. So
thank you. I'm very happy. I really appreciate it. To everyone else who's listening, thank you so much for being here. Have a great, amazing rest of your day. Till next time. Bye-bye.